Hello, fellow investors. Welcome to Nordic Finance. My name is Lucas.
And my name is Markus.
And today we are talking about advice to my younger self about money.
Or I guess our younger selves.
Our younger self, yeah. Not just mine.
And this video is aimed for primarily teenagers, maybe children 10 and above. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, not younger than 10 at least, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe
Probably
I'm
a bit.
thinking, I'm thinking 13 to 20 probably for most of these, but
Yeah, I mean, you can start early.
yeah, the younger the better.
Well,
But-
we're not supporting maybe child labor, but
Unless it's
unless it's voluntary.
Okay, but let's dive into it. So first,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about why you even think about money when you're young. Second, we're going to talk a bit about frugality, and then we're going to move on to how to earn, how to invest, and also just how to learn in general, or why it's important to learn. Start learning from a young age about money.
Mhm.
So let's start about this. Why you even think about money when you're young, Marcus? What do you say?
Well, we have listed a first point here, which is time. I think time, especially when you are young, is one of the most valuable and most bountiful resources you actually have. Is that you have a lot of time compared to a lot of other people. And I don't mean like time in the day or anything, but of course, like time left of your life, so to speak, which is incredibly important in economics because of a concept that we like very much in this channel and in finance in general is compounding. And there's a lot of things we can compound. We have actually mentioned 3 things here that maybe you want to mention a few of them, Lucas.
Yeah, so 3 main things that really compound well over time, which is the compounding of knowledge, the compounding of your skills, and then compounding of money, which is, I guess, the one that is most commonly talked about. And,
Yeah.
and what we mean, for example, when we say compounding of knowledge, a lot of times, or almost all of the time when you learn about something, you don't even know what there is to know about something until you start diving into it and learning about it. And also, like, the more you learn about something, the more you are able to learn about related things, and the greater your or the more accurate, maybe would be a good way to describe it, your worldview becomes, and you can then implement this worldview or what you know about concepts around you to not profit but to serve you in a way. Is that a good way to explain it?
Yeah, I would say so.
And then also, when you're young, you're just at a lower risk overall because you're not going to have
that's
that
a
much
given.
money. So it's a really good time to learn a bit with less money.
Yeah, and again with the time, if you relate that to the time, is that even if you make a mistake over time, maybe that will fade compared to when you're maybe older and you don't have as much time anymore, or especially if the errors are bigger, then it might take way more time, and time you don't actually have to erase the error that happened. If I had an advice for myself, and I guess this is like the first real advice, so to speak, is that what I would want to do is that I would like to go back and honestly like teach my young self the actual value of money and what you have to do in order to actually acquire money. Because being from at least middle class, I would say that if you're in a middle class or above, there is certainly like this aspect where, especially when you're a kid, your parents might not actually teach you a lot about how money actually works, how it's earned, or things like that. And it might actually, like, I wouldn't say devalue money, but you don't really have a good expectation of like what money is actually worth, so to speak, and what you have to do in order to acquire money. Especially if you don't have a lot of work experience when you're young, and you have a tendency to maybe get some stuff if you want it. For instance, if you're a little bit spoiled, which I do think happens to at least some of us, and we are lucky if it happens to you, but it certainly might be an effect. And if it happens, it can actually do some damage to you in the sense that then when you get older, for instance, above your 20s, when you're in college or something to the equivalent of that, then you realize that actually it would have been very good if you very early learned what things are worth and what you have to do in order to acquire money, so that you don't, for instance, spend a lot of money on, like we said, frivolous items such as cigarettes or or snacks again or stuff like that. But even like also things, just stuff you don't need in general. I think that that's more prevalent. At least it was for me, that I didn't think much about these things when I was a teenager. You were thinking so much about other stuff, so you were so caught up in your own world that you didn't really think a lot about being frugal, maybe picking things that are a little bit cheaper, or being concerned with a lot of sales or stuff like that. If you come from a position of privilege, I would say that that can certainly be an issue that you will then rue later when you actually learn that you don't want to spend, for instance, money on frivolous items or be overcharged for stuff. I'm not sure if I'm making a lot of sense here, but
yeah.
Maybe you can
no, you're making a
unpack
lot
a
of
few.
sense. I think one way to do this to get a better understanding of what money is worth is to link it to a real service or product that you enjoy in real life. May it be a video game or some snack you enjoy, like maybe some. Like even if you shouldn't consume or should spend all of your money on snacks, like if you have a favorite snack.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not for depriving people. I hope
Yeah,
I didn't come across as that.
No, not at all. But if you have a favorite snack which is worth €1, for example, and you're thinking about buying something for 30, 40 euros, it's going to be easier for your brain instead of thinking about the price tag. If you think about like 30 or 40 of your favorite snack compared to the thing you're going to buy that you're not sure about. So it's just going to be easier for your brain to process.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, if you have, for example, if you enjoy video games and you know a video game costs maybe 40 to 60 euros if you're going to buy a new one, and you usually buy snacks and you want to stop that, you can link it the other way around, that if I just say no like 30 more times, then I can buy this thing that I actually enjoy a lot.
I wish I had maybe known in a younger age that actually money that you save can grow. Because that was a concept that was very foreign for me at that age. That actually if I save something, I was just thinking, if I save it now, I can use it later. It never crossed my mind that if I save it now, I might have more in the future. And this might certainly have I would have been more interested, I think, in investing in finance if I had learned this lesson a bit earlier.
And that actually leads us nicely into the next point, which is something I would have wanted to tell myself when I was younger. Just like Markus said, that you can actually grow your money, or as I like to call it because it sounds more fun, that you can start building your money machine already from a young age through investing. However, of course, if you're underage, meaning below 18, this is going to require that you get at least one parent on board with this project. But I think that this is a concept that could be possible to sell. Like if you say that I'm going to spend less money on candy, but I would really like to open an index fund, and you explain.
You know, I would be so weirded out if a kid said that, to be honest. I'm just gonna...
Yeah,
I mean, I
know, but it depends on the age. Like if there's 15 or 16, you might be like, well, what the hell is an index fund?
Okay, I could see it at that age. I could see it.
And then if you learned about it, you explained it for them. Like, I know a lot of parents would just say no because.
Well, that depends on where you are. I think especially. Yeah.
Wait for a sec, because they're afraid of what they don't know. But I think a lot of people would be on board with it as well. And the nice thing again with this, that if you get on the investing train early, you get to take really full advantage of compound interest, which is going to be absolutely insane.
It's going to be insane if you start that early.
Also remember this, that in case you are scared, which for example I was, even though I was 20, I was 25 since I began this year properly. And I wanted to start earlier, but I was afraid of making a fool of myself or losing money. But even if, say you lose all your money, just learning learning the general ropes, especially at that age when you don't have much money to lose anyway, is, in my opinion, going to be worth it. Like just a lesson of knowing how to do it and knowing if this is something to try it out, like I would say it's worth it.
If you can use it in the future. Because I was just going to say that to you, that maybe in like at least our age, I don't think it's a good idea to lose all your money, so to speak. And maybe even if you're younger, perhaps you don't have to put all your money, and certainly not like any like inherited money or given money or anything like this. Like money may be meant for a college fund or something. You probably shouldn't invest this kind of money unless you have something incredibly secure to put it into. But all money that you are actually earning yourself would be maybe be a good idea to contribute something. It doesn't have to necessarily be big, but just to get you into the habit maybe of investing, for instance.
Yeah, I really ease yourself into it. I think is very important, because then you can notice, oh, I made some mistakes there, I lost some money there, maybe fees is a classic one.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
lost money too. Taxes, like, so just ease your
Taxes, yeah. There's just so
way into
much
it,
you learn
because
over time.
Yeah, because you started so early, so you don't have to hurry. Then, like, you can just invest like a little each month, and until you get comfortable with it and you know the ropes. So okay, but what about earning money? What do you think about that, Marcus? Earning money when you're young.
Yeah, so I think that this is more flexible for in general when you're a child or a teenager. Is that you actually do have a fair bit of ways, and I know I also, for that matter, I had summer jobs. I did some extra things around the house and stuff like that. So there are definitely ways to earn money when you're a kid, so to speak.
We would really like to put emphasis on the fact that if you can figure out a way to earn money in a more entrepreneurial, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, entrepreneurial. It's not the easiest.
Yeah,
word to say.
Entrepreneurial way. That could be absolutely huge for you, because that's a skill that's going to serve you for the rest of your life. So that's basically just how to find a way to add value to someone and then get paid for it. And this is not going to be easy, especially if you're young. Oh, for some people it's gonna be easy. That depends a bit on how you think and your earlier experiences. There's a lot of opportunities to be more entrepreneurial like that, and like just Google how to make money.
Yeah, when you're young, there's actually a lot of good content like how to earn money when you're specifically young. There's a lot of content like that. So we're not going to get into that. We're just talking about mindsets and what we would have. No. We probably would have wanted to watch these movies when we were that age, I think.
Yeah, these videos definitely. And this is gonna, if you can just get into the habit of doing that, that's gonna serve you like really well for the rest of your life. Even if you get a normal job, like it's still gonna serve you. Just that kind of problem solving that's gonna come with that experience. Even if you end up not earning really much, like just the learning again is super important.
Yeah, I think that most of this time of your life is anyways going to be mostly focused about learning. Yeah.
Oh, do you still want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, do you want to talk anything about what you did actually as a kid to earn maybe some money or something like that? I don't think we have mentioned anything yet.
Not really, because I don't have any good stories, so...
Okay. I just want to make it's not impressive, absolutely not, and it's very specific to Finland. But I mean, remember, for instance, what I used to do with my friends when we were here, and I was a young teenager, so I must have been like 13 or something like that. Sadly, I didn't want to invest a lot of money like into the stock market or index funds or anything but I really wanted the PlayStation 3. So what we did was that I used to we were taking rounds around my neighborhood and we were collecting all the bottles, me and my friends, and we actually like split the money between us so that we had double the search, so to speak, and the specific goal of like the walk was to find bottles, because here in Finland you get money back when you recycle bottles. So what
we used to do that in elementary school as well.
Yeah, but we got pretty dedicated about this. So we actually went around like several times a week sometimes, and we were pretty competitive about finding like the bottles. And usually we could maybe get like 10 euros. 10 euros a walk was not completely uncommon. Which is pretty decent, I think, in that age, because we were like 12, 13 or something like that. We were just in high school, like the Finnish high school. And I remember that in the end I was pretty proud of myself, because I remember that when I actually eventually got the PlayStation 3, I had actually earned almost 800 euros from this recycling of bottle thing. And that was like a very, I think it really affected me in that age to realize like the value of money, because I really saw in that age, we've touched upon it here, that how much I had to actually work for that amount of money.
Yeah.
In a way. So you got, I think I've always been a little bit protective about my money, and I think a lot of it stems from that experience, because there behind those 800 euros are like countless of walks that we went on, and to find these bottles and like to collect them, and we had to return them and all this stuff, and we were really dedicated for that goal. And I didn't end up using all of my money for the actual PlayStation 3 because it was cheaper. So I think that was also good that we actually kept going afterwards. And I actually don't think I ended up spending a lot of it on games even. I just realized that I work really hard for this money, so I don't want to spend it very frivolously after that. So I think that was a really good lesson for me. I mean, I could have definitely improved it, but I think I already there got a good lesson from this time of my life, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a cool story. Because we did that, but we didn't earn that much. And I always had the opportunity, even in elementary school, that if I worked for my mom, like doing whatever she told me, like, and this like, I know I sound spoiled, but like, it could be anything, cleaning the house. We had chickens at that time, like 2 of them, so we feeding them, and like I could get money from things like that. But the general rate was like 3 euros an hour.
Oh.
So that's already a lot more than you were earning probably with the bottles.
Yeah, sometimes, but not. Sometimes we took like I remember, for instance, like one time, this was really particular though, we actually find a case of unopened beer in the forest. I don't know why someone had left that. We were thinking it's probably like pupils, that one, because we had some bad boys and girls in our school that were drinking beer.
So you just you just held it you just poured it out and went and...
No way. We were way more savvy than that. We actually took the case and we sold it to my friend's father for a little above market value. We took the whole case and we sold it to him, and he wanted to buy it. So that time was very profitable. I think like in maybe 20 minutes we earned like 40 euros or something like that.
That's the power of flipping.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the power of flipping.
So, yeah, you got to be a bit savvy. But I think we should probably move on by now. This is taking a little bit long.
Yeah. We've talked about learning, that's the main thing you want to focus on at this age. That regardless of whether you earn a lot of money or even if you lose a little bit of money, it's not the end of the world. It's the teaching experiences that are really going to have a real effect on the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something we wanted to cover in this video as a separate point, and it's the final point, which is learn what is at your disposal, and also listen to the advice that is given to you about money. Not all of it is going to be good, but
that's really important, actually, what you said right there, that not all of it is going to be good. So always remember to deem everything you hear. Do I believe in this? Because a lot of people have advice and not all of it is good, like not even close. I think a lot of it is maybe even pretty bad in some cases.
Yeah, and I think a general rule of thumb, and this is not always true, but it's a pretty good, it works pretty well. Does the person giving the advice have the results I want? Because often you can tell. If it's about money, like do they have any money?
Have they earned any money doing this?
Yeah, like I think that's a fair question. Some people are like, oh, but that's so unfair. But no, I think that's a fair question. Like, do they have any? At least do they have experience? Have they even tried this themselves? Did they try buying shares one time and they got burnt and they swore to God to never touch it again? Like, because there's a lot of that around. So I would say, you don't have to take advice from just like your friends and family. You could read a book from some of the like greatest minds that have done this for their whole careers, and I'd put a little bit more weight on that kind of advice compared to what you're...
Yeah, and that's really important, actually. I think that's really important, because it's actually the flipped version of when like the what is it called, the power of the word of mouth, like the power of word of mouth. It's actually flipped, I think, in this case. I mean, in general, I don't think it's a very good rule you should always listen to what people have to say, the people that you know and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but always be a little bit skeptical. But when it comes to actual books and studies and stuff, that's more what you can believe in this area, I think. Like when it comes to products and stuff like that, word of mouth is actually pretty believable and maybe what you actually want to go for. Not so much in in like financials, I think.
Yeah, but again, that's our personal experience.
Yeah, it depends, of
opinion.
course, of who you're around.
But
and
I
stuff
think
like
I think most top earners would agree with us and say that they learned it from books and not their friends and family.
that. Yeah. Yeah, there is one more thing I want to touch upon also with this last point, which
Yeah, same.
I intended.
But you go first.
Yeah. So also when we say learn what is at your disposal, it's actually really important, I think, to find out also like literally which tools are at my disposal where I am right now. Because for instance, for us, it was quite important, I think, for me, and what started me on my investment journey is that I found out what was like at my disposal here in Finland, for instance, because it's definitely not the same as what is in America or something like that. So what you need to do is actually you need to hone in on those things that are actually around you and that you can affect, because I don't think you get necessary. You can definitely learn a lot through other forms. Like for instance, I have listened to a lot of like American investors and stuff like that, but I never really watch a lot of videos about platforms that they are using. I can understand like the basics of them, but I don't spend a lot of times to understand the ins and outs of them, because they are not available here, and I don't believe that they will be for a very long time. So instead, I want to focus on what can I do here, which kind of account should I open, and what can I like do here. And this is more important, I think, than maybe just have general knowledge and theoretical knowledge, because those actually, to hate a little bit on what we just say, those you can all learn in like a book. But it's also important to be pretty practical and know what is in my vicinity, what I can do here right now, especially when you're young, because your options tends to be far more limited then, is that you actually hone very much into like what can I do at my age in my area, and you see what those options are, and you go through them, and you try to find out which are the best ones for you.
Yeah, so. And that actually leads me really nice into my final point, which is also actually implementing, because I got stuck into this for like 5 years of my life, and it's useless. Like, you can't just read it. Like, there's no point if you just read about it, or you hear about it, or you find out information about it, if you don't do anything with it. It's useless. Like, I can't. Sorry, I get a bit frustrated with myself because I can't.
But I understand what you're coming from, because you're basically becoming that guy that can tell everybody else what he needs to do, but you don't do anything yourself. So you don't actually have the knowledge. Like, you can't back up what you're saying. So I completely get what you're coming from.
So it's such a classic move to make, and I think we should make a whole video about it to how to get out of that trap.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, because there's two kinds of people I've noticed, and since I'm at university, I've found more of the readers and not the doers, but I know there's a lot of doers and not readers. And if you know for a fact that you're leaning more to one end, you're going to have to spend a lot of conscious effort into doing the opposite of what you're comfortable with. But okay, so in this video we've talked about the advice to our younger selves about money. We've touched upon why it's important to know when young. We've touched upon the concept of being frugal.
Yeah, so we also went over why you should invest early also, because of the compounding interest. I think that tied together with like most of our little video here. Then we also spent some time on that you should enjoy like the journey and be very creative about what you can do in this age, because I think it can be quite fun as well. If you make like almost a game or a something fun out of it.
Then also this concept that when you start earning money, that you try to think of it from an entrepreneurial mindset, meaning how can you solve problems to create money, or how can you find places to earn money. And then finally we talked a bit about the learning experience, just overall, that even if you lose some, you win a lot in terms of what you learn. And finally also seek out the knowledge and remember to be a bit critical about where you find your knowledge, and finally implement. And if you found anything in this video helpful, please remember to kiss that like button and caress that subscribe. So, with making it awkward, all that there's left to say is happy investing until next week.
Happy investing, guys.